Alright, so in this tutorial, we're going to be going over drawings, specifically how you create lines from your model in Rhino, and then prepare them to be exported into Illustrator. In part 1 of this series, we'll go over how you scale your model, how you set views and then save those views, the make 2D command, how you clean up those lines from the make 2D command using split, join, and SelDup. And then throughout we'll be focused on keeping our layers organized so that the process of bringing the line work into Illustrator is pretty easy. All right. So let's begin in perspective. I started layers over here. We'll click on cube and we'll just create a cluster of primitive objects. We'll start with a cube. I'll set the first corner of the base at 0, 0, the origin point, and we'll make that cube 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet. And then we'll create a cylinder. And then a pyramid. All right, and let's turn this to shaded. I like to use the gumball feature because it allows you to easily scale and rotate objects. And so if you're following along in Rhino, and feel free to create your own cluster of objects, primitive shapes, and mess around with creating a little composition. All right. And so right now, these objects are simply intersecting one another. We haven't used any of like the Boolean operatives on them. So if we were to use the make 2D command right now, this line, these two lines of intersection between the pyramid and the cube would not show up. Same with the cylinder and the cube. So once you have an arrangement that you like, we're going to use Boolean difference on the cube so that these lines of intersection are apparent in our drawings. All right, now we'll select this cluster of objects, go under the perspective drop-down menu to set view. For this video, we'll go under isometric, and let's select southeast. I like to use ZS. Zoom select to zoom in on the objects I have selected. And so if you have all your objects selected, you can right click on your mouse and kind of pan right to left, and then hit shift, and that will keep you in the parallel view. All right, let's save this view, set view once again, go down to named views, and let's hit save as. We'll call this axon 3obj. All right. So before we use the make 2D command, we want to scale down this cluster of objects. And so let's first make a copy. It's always a good idea to keep an unscaled copy of your model. We'll select this cluster again, type in scale into the command line. It's prompting us to pick a base point. I'll pick the origin point. And say we need to create a drawing that is at a 1/4 inch scale. An easy way to remember how to do this is to invert the fraction and then multiply it by 12. So 1 foot equals a quarter inch. We'll invert a quarter inch, so that gives you 4. Multiply that by 12 and you get 48. And that will be our scale factor. However, we're going to be scaling down, so we're going to want to type in 1 over 48. And zoom in. If you wanted to check this to make sure you typed in the correct scale factor, you could always use distance. And since we originally made this cube 4 feet, it should work out to be 1 inch in length. And up here, you'll see that it is. All right. So let's go into our saved view. Axon 3 obj. You can select those objects, zoom in on them, and then with the objects selected, type in make 2D, and this window will pop up. Make sure you have maintain source layers turned on. Hidden lines are always a good idea if you think you might want to incorporate those into your drawing. And for the purposes of this video, we'll also do scene silhouette. Scene silhouette is supposed to create an outline of this cluster of objects. However, it doesn't always work out that well, so we may have to clean those up using the commands I mentioned in the beginning. And this line work will be found under the layer name drawings. All right, so click OK. Now we'll jump over to top view. And to check if scene silhouette worked out, let's go over to drawings and we'll turn off curves so that only scene silhouette is visible. So it did not work out. All right, so first, what I like to do is create my layers that I'm going to be exporting into Illustrator. And since this is just going to be something very simple, I will create one called outline. I also tend to note what line weight I think I will use. However, that sometimes changes depending on the drawing that I'm creating. We'll label this last one hidden. All right. So one thing to note when you use scene silhouette is that this curve, you'll see it's duplicated. To get rid of any duplicated lines, you can select, or you don't have to select actually, just type in SelDup. That will select all the duplicate lines, and then you can hit delete. So we're going to select this curve, type in split, and so now we've broken this curve up into 2 curves. And we're pretty much just going to be doing split and join to create our outline. All right, now we have our outline. It's one closed curve, and we will select outline, right click, change object layer. We can turn that off for the time being. And now let's focus on the hidden curves. So under drawings, let's hide curves and the remaining curves from scene silhouette. We'll select this curve. I like to join these in Rhino because it's easier to do so, I find, than in Illustrator. And then you can always just click and drag right to left type in join, and you'll see there it brought down 20 curves into 9 open curves. We'll change the object layer, bring those to hidden, hide this layer. I'll go through the same process. So I'll join the curved curves in Rhino by hand. In here you'll find, because it's not always perfect, like this line should be split, I'm pretty sure. These two lines should actually be hidden, so I'll just change those because I spotted them. All right, and then I will just select the remainder, type in join. Now we have 13 curves into 7 open curves, which is more manageable. I will change those to mid-weight. And so now we'll move on to the next video that goes into clipping planes, and then we'll jump back for the final video to this drawing here and prepare it to be exported into Illustrator.